lovely. Thank you. Yeah, it feels like every other class I teach now. All right, so several things. First is, your papers are going to be due on Friday. Here's my conception. So, well, mostly because I'm a lazy person, I don't want to carry 75 Zibaldone home and have them all over my house for the weekend and then haul them all back by Monday. What I think I'm going to do is, and you tell me, I will take your papers home with me, and I will grade them. And if I don't like the grade, or if I don't think you're gonna like the grade, I'm gonna come back and say, here's what the grade is right now. If you're not happy about that, and you think that by reading your Zibaldone, your grade will improve, then that's what I'll do. Now, here's how your Zibaldone would help you. All I care about, the whole, why do we give you assignments that are graded? All we're trying to do is find out what's going on up here. And we want, is that a personal statement, or?
Yeah.
I'll hold on. Well then, you already had your grade done, I guess. So, and specifically, the evaluation is, are you reading what we're supposed to be reading? Are you understanding what we're reading and what we're talking about in class? And can you use it in a practical way? Got it? So those are the three things. I'm going to get to your question in just a second, but it's analogous to those three questions. In general, those are the three things that I need to have from you. So, for example, I don't know why it happens, but it always happens that despite the fact that I say you cannot get an A in my class if you do not demonstrate that you have read and understood our readings, still people don't demonstrate that they have read and understood the reading. I have to presume that that's because they haven't read and therefore could not understand the readings, and yet they're upset with it. Got it? So that doesn't make sense to me. You know what you're supposed to do. You need to do that so that I can give you the grade that you want and that I want to give you. So, if I read your papers and I don't see a lot of evidence that you've read the material, I'm going to be disappointed. I'm going to give you, let's say I'll give you a B. But you think that you can demonstrate that you've read and understood the material if I would just take a look at your Zibaldone. And if I do that and I see that, fine, you are right. You did do that. You didn't do it in your paper, which I wish you would have, but at least you did it, and that's all I care about. Is that clear? Does that illustrate what I'm trying to get at here? Comments, questions on that? So, there should be, because some of you are very verbal. Most of you are very verbal. That's really not a problem. Some of you are verbal in appropriate ways, where you're actually contributing to the conversation and to our corporate understanding of the material. That is gradable. It's really hard for me to demonstrate who is and who isn't, but it is, if it's happening, it needs to be acknowledged that it's happening. And so if it's not in your Zibaldone and it's not in your paper, but your contributions of class have been moving our conversations forward in really creative and constructive ways, I will give you credit for that. Although again, it's difficult for me to just pin down exactly what constitutes an adequate amount of verbal conversation to support that. That's fuzzy, but I don't want to pretend that it's not happening. All right. Now, with that out of the way, let me remind you, or you help me to remind you, that the way we played it out is we're combining an assignment and a Zibaldone into one, and we rewrote the question for simplicity and clarity, and it consists of three parts. Part number one is what? Yes. How, and to flesh that out, I need you to demonstrate that you have a more than average understanding of the marginalization of that community. In other words, you're not just a bunch of people sitting around the table arguing with each other and raising your voices and making broad, sweeping, unsubstantiated generalizations. You have read something, which you're going to tell me about, that supports your claim that this group is marginalized in this way or that way or these ways. Ian, is that consistent with what you have in your Z?
Yeah.
Were you in a different world just about 2 seconds ago?
No, I was just trying to figure out what I wrote down.
Okay.
I had sloppy handwriting.
Okay. Are we good with the step one? You okay with that? All right, step number 2, what is it? Give us step number 2.
What insights from Ambrose in the Bible are useful in addressing this injustice?
So that means you're gonna go to your toolkit. I don't know if I did it in this class or another class, but if you're a plumber and you're called out onto a job and you talk to the person on the phone, and you think you have a good sense of what the problem is that you're gonna be facing, does that mean that you only take the tools that you need to fix the job that you think you're dealing with, and you leave all the rest of your tools at home? That would be silly. So you have to decide, what tools do I think I'm going to use? But take more than you think you're gonna use, because once you sit down to do step number 3, you're gonna realize, oh dang, I left that socket set at home, what was I thinking? Get it? Step number 2 is, what ideas, these are your tools, what ideas do I get from Ambrose and the Bible, but I'm mostly concerned about Ambrose. And when I say Ambrose, I mean 2 things, don't I? What's one of them?
The reading we did.
The reading that you did, which, by the way, was not exactly onerous. You know this word? Hard, heavy-duty, difficult. And the other thing from Ambrose? The square thing. Can we call it the Tonos model? We'll call it the Tonos. All right, we got those 2 things?
Oh,
You good? That says dump truck.
Nope.
Nope.
What? That's a 2.
Yes.
How does that show your face, the reading you're talking about?
my hair straight.
Yeah, it was 21 to 28, wasn't it? So book 2, was it? On the duties of the clergy, hey, are you listening? On the duties of the clergy, book 2, chapters 21 to 28, I think. Was it 24?
25 to 29.
25 to 29. Wow.
Was it? All right, it's in the syllabus. All right, that's step number 2, got it? Number 1, describe exactly the status of the marginalization. In what ways are these people being marginalized? Claire, do you think you can answer that question for the topic that you showed me earlier? Okay. Step number 2, what of Ambrose are important enough for you to believe are applicable? And step number 3, apply to 1. Apply Ambrose to the marginalized. Now, you're writing, so I'll shut up. If you can answer that question, you can do that topic. But it has to be a contemporary issue, not something from, not a historical, this is the way it used to be.
Can I talk about them being like men marginalized women for not being capable of doing easy jobs? Because it's like, men don't like look at women like being like mechanical engineers.
Yes, you can do that.
Something that one.
Yes, you can, yeah, that clarifies what you were talking about earlier. But there's this weird thing that's happening among Christians in America, and it's called this trad. I'm surprised they haven't heard about it. It's where women give up their jobs, they declare obedience to their husbands, and they stay at home and raise the kids, and typically the kids are being homeschooled. You can do it, but it's super weird.
Oh, yes. I'll look into it.
But the problem with that, Claire, is they're consenting to this.
I'll do the job speaking, yes.
Okay, so, we good with this then? Yes, questions on the assignment? No questions on the assignment, yes?
Do we use direct quotes from Ambrose?
Yes, please use direct quotes and
Cite.
cite them. Yes.
Should we only reference scripture that we've used in this class?
So, it's too interesting a question.
Okay.
If we studied it in class, then I know that you are interpreting it, no, I know that we have talked about it in such a way that I have a right to expect that you can interpret it properly. If you're using a text that we've not discussed in class, you need to demonstrate to me that you are in fact interpreting it properly. So for example, you can't do what is called proof texting, where you just do a Google search of the word, you pull a Bible verse out of the blue and shove it into your paper because you think it says this, when in fact, it doesn't say that at all. So if you're gonna use a text that we have not studied, you damn well better be absolutely sure that it's helpful to you, because if it isn't, then it's gonna hurt your grade. That's not a threat. If you misuse a source, it's gonna hurt your argument. Yes.
In what format would you like scripture cited?
Simple, thanks for asking that question, because I don't want a bibliography, I don't want footnotes, I simply want something like this. 32. Romans chapter 8, verse 32. And just put it in parentheses at the end of the quote. Or, you don't even need to cite Ambrose, you can just write, I know the title in English is On the Duties of the Clergy, but the actual academic title of that book is De Officiis, which is abbreviated this way. You're in chapter 2, is that, or book 2, right?
Yeah,
And you said it starts at 24?
25. 25 to
22?
29.
20,
We
29
did
is the last
25
one.
to 29.
What?
We did 25 to 29.
Okay, 25, and then the paragraph 103 or whatever. Book, chapter, paragraph. Bella, that must have been a very good question because everybody's writing it down. By the way, I don't know what Romans 8:32 is, I just know I like chapter 8, it's so cool. Yes?
How much, like?
How
what
long? Were you about to ask me how long it's supposed to
No,
be?
no. Like,
Why
what-
would you ever ask that?
What percentages of the paper should each question take up? Like, question 1 take up 50%, and then the other 2 like split by question 5, or well, how would you format it?
Is that an interesting question?
Yes.
I'm making this up.
Okay.
If I were completing this assignment, I would think that it's quite likely that the first third of the paper, in other words, the first question, is probably going to be the most words. The second part of the paper might be the fewest words, because all you're really going to do is say, these are what I learned from Ambrose that I believe to be true, which I think will be useful, and these terms mean this. Got it? And the third, which is the most important part, will probably be somewhere in between that. The reason that the first third will be longer is because data takes a while to make clear. It's the easiest to do, even if it's the longest to do, because all you're doing is giving me facts. You're not yet thinking, except that you have thought about what facts you think are relevant. The second part is maybe the most important part, because this is the theological tools that I understand and that I know how to use. Doesn't take very long to say that, but it's very, very important. The third thing is, if it's not useful, if it doesn't apply to the situation, if you can't demonstrate how Ambrose can help us to address this marginalization, then the whole thing has failed. Because that's the proof in the pudding, you know that phrase? Okay, we good then? Any other questions on that? Yes?
If we're gonna cite the Tonos model, how do you want us to cite that? Just put like Tonos model and parentheses?
According to the Tonos model, X. Other questions? Going once? Yes?
How long should it be?
What's the answer, please?
It's the only thing that needs to be.
Okay, I have one.
You were just being ornery. Were you? It was an honest question?
Yeah.
Yes, so, the first assignment, because, the syllabus that we are going to use has a word length in it, I put it in there. It was a disaster. You write what you need to write in order to make sure that you have communicated effectively, and not a word more. My advice to some of you who tend to be verbose, by the way, verbosity, that's me. When you get done writing it, you should go back and you can think to yourself, every word is worth a nickel, how much money can I save by deleting them? So delete all the nonsense. Many people throughout the ages have wondered about this particular problem. Fine, please don't say that. That's very junior high. I know that what it is, it's getting your brain worked up. So fine, write it. But then hit this cool thing called the delete button. Yeah, we good? Examine my comments on your first assignment and Zibaldone. Make sure that you have addressed in this effort the things that I thought might have needed to be strengthened. Are we good with all this? Okay, put your phones down, put your cameras down, put all that nonsense down, and get your Zibaldone out and walk me through this process. Let's pretend that there's people in the class who weren't here at the there are people here today who weren't here on, what is today, Wednesday? That weren't here on Monday. You're helping them and helping yourself. Got it? Hey, guys, are your phones down? Are you sleepy?
He's looking at it.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Let's focus on this now, shall we? What does this mean? As a well done. Divine law. So tell me what divine law means.
Revelation.
Okay, that's the word in your notebook. That's not what I want. I want to know what it means. Yeah, the word.
I didn't have Bible / Catholic instruction.
Okay, so that's what's in your notes. Now, I'm not yelling at you. Want me to yell at him? I'll yell at him if you want.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm not gonna yell at anybody, but here's what I want. I don't want you to repeat back what I give you. I want you to own it. I want to feel like, what's the difference between little kid soccer and college soccer? Is there any difference? They're dang well better be. Little kid soccer, everybody runs around and chases the ball. Nobody does have any idea what they're doing except they're having a blast chasing the ball, got it? By the time you get to college soccer, you're seeing that people are playing positions, that they're strategizing, that they're working off of each other, sometimes making a run in order to get somebody else pulled away, so that opens a gap for the other person to come through with the ball. It's very, very strategic. You can see it in math on in your head. I want that, not that. I don't want you to repeat just the words that I've used. I want you to have own them, interiorize them, so that they make sense to you. And I don't know how to do that. I really don't know how to do that. I can't do it. You have to do it, yeah.
So you like the things that are like revealed to us?
Yes, that, so, suppose, let's say you're God, just for the moment. Don't get a big head. And you want to communicate yourself. God wants to communicate God to everybody else. You decide that there are two ways that you can communicate with them. One is by means of the divine law, which you are right. It means revelation, and that means typically the Bible, but not just the Bible, because the Bible, from almost the get-go, I mean, St. Paul is both writing the New Testament, he didn't know that's what he was doing, by the way, just to be clear. He was both writing the New Testament and he was interpreting the tradition. For him, that meant the ancient Jewish tradition through the lens of Christ. So God, you can reveal yourself to, you can communicate to other people through this special revelation. You speak to them in their hearts. You speak to them through their faith. And you reveal to them things about yourself that only can be known through faith. I'm going to leave that on the board. I don't see many people writing, so that means that I can add another piece to the puzzle. What is this? And what does it mean? It doesn't mean reason, but that's what's on the blackboard. It means that God also reveals God's self to us through our own process of thinking. If you sit down, I just had a coffee with a colleague of mine here whose son is a freshman at Notre Dame, and his son just sent him a several-page reflection that he wrote on God. He's thinking about God. He's not reading the Bible. He's not thinking about what he's been taught. He's just thinking about God and coming up with it in his own head what he thinks about this thing of God. Can people come to a knowledge of God by reason alone, without revelation?
Yes,
Huh?
yes,
Who said that? And what'd you say?
yes.
Yes, they can? Can you say more?
Well, like we were talking the other day about the logistics of asking questions about the universe, and now if we have a universe, you know, who made it,
Mm-hmm.
all of that. So if we just use reasoning like that, then it would be reasonable to come to the conclusion that there is a God.
Yeah, and
That doesn't include the Bible
That's
or
right.
tradition.
okay, can you use reason? If you can use reason alone to get yourself to a conception of God, can you use reason to get yourself to a conception of the Trinity? Suppose no one ever taught you about the Trinity. Would you come up with that idea? No, you probably wouldn't. But this is interesting. Suppose you were taught about the Trinity, and now you want to use your knowledge to try to figure out what that means. Could you do that? To a certain extent, can't you? So, we know that your generation, I'm not speaking about any one of you individuals, but we know that your generation is not, you haven't left the church, your generation has not left the church, it's never been in the church. Generationally, more than half of people your age have not been raised with religion. Can your generation come to an understanding of God, never having set foot inside of a church? Is that, what are you thinking? Bobby, yes. Anybody else? Yes? If so, and I agree with you, by the way, if so, then this is the way God is communicating to you, through your God-given ability to reason through things. For example, if every effect has to have a cause, are you with me on this? This is caused by this, this is caused by this, this is caused by this, where is that going to end? It's either going to not end, an endless regression is what Kant calls it, Or it is going to have a point at which you can say, this is the beginning. But how is the beginning of what? That must be the God point. The trigger that set it all off. Now maybe we're only talking about the Big Bang. But that's already a conception of something that didn't happen and then it did. This is God's action. You don't have to call it that. By the way, if you reason your way to God, can you reason your way to God without ever using the word God? Is it possible that you believe in something eternal and you don't call it God, you call it something else? But other people would say, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about God. I would call what you just said God. What might that be?
I don't know, I guess it's kind of like my case where I just believe there's like something in the universe, but I don't give it a name or anything like that. So like some people may just believe that there is a higher power out there.
Okay, a higher power. So you do believe in a higher power?
I don't know. I'm not
Okay.
sure.
All right, go give me something that you do believe in. I want something that you arrived at by reason alone, that you believe to be true, and that even without faith, other people might say, what you're talking about, I call that God. Oh, come on, this is not rocket science. Yes? Believing in faith. Well, that's kind of cheating because I agree with you that belief and faith are two different things, but the Greek word pistis means both, so it gets really complicated.
Maybe someone who believes in like fate, like knowing that things will work out.
Well, I suppose, oh, yeah, well, except I don't think that's rational. I just don't think that's supportable rationally. Did I say that out loud? Oh, Mother of God.
Oh boy.
Yes.
What?
Hey.
Okay.
What letter?
Which one, yeah, what? Oh, he's not gonna tell it. Wait, which letter was that?
A.
Eve,
What?
Eve.
Love?
Yes. Mother of God, how hard was that?
I said it first.
Who in here,
Someone
I
did
don't
say
even
oh.
want to raise your hand, because I think you might be Satan. Who doesn't believe in love? Who doesn't believe that love is real? And that love is transcendent? And that love doesn't have any sort of purpose or end, it just is its own thing, and it is the most important, most meaningful thing in your life. Can people arrive at ultimate meaning and purpose without ever setting foot inside of a church, without ever using religious language, but using a language that we who are in the church and who do use biblical and theological and spiritual language, we can say, I am 100% on board with what you just said. I would just use different words for it. I call that the Holy Spirit. Just made that up, but you get the point, don't you? So, God communicates God's own self to us, both through revelation outside of us. Please understand, this has to come to us from outside. You have to open the dang book, literally. And when you open the book and start reading it, you start to understand something of the nature of God by reading the book. This one, you're not opening a book, you are just examining your own experiences, you're using your rational processes to draw certain conclusions. Even Descartes, a French Catholic guy who probably triggered the Enlightenment, which was the beginning of the end of institutional religion in the West, Kant would say, why is there something and not nothing? Well, that's a theological question that he arrived at by means of reason alone. And the fact that there is something and not nothing sort of implies that there is a something-er. The person who does the something, or creator. Get it? Thomas famously has 5 proofs for the existence of God, which he tries to demonstrate not using the Bible, not using Revelation, but by using reason alone. I think they're interesting and compelling, but not proofs. Because if they were proofs, then everybody would have to concede, gosh dang it, he's right. And since people haven't done that, then they obviously aren't proofs. Immanuel Kant, another really cool guy, well actually, he's probably, I don't think I'd like him actually, but super important guy, an interesting guy. He says that absolutely, reason alone will get us to an understanding of God. Are we good with this then? I'm trying not to beat a dead horse, but also I'm trying to beat it into your heads. All right, now, what is this? Now, instead of telling me what your notebook says, oh, by the way, back up here. Put something in your notebooks that are your own words, your own thoughts, that you think help you to understand what these two things are and the difference between them. Put something down from the conversation we just had, which is 99% me. You got it? What'd you write?
For what we just talked about,
Yep.
I said God communicates to us through revelation, and then I said that the fact that there's something proves there's a creator.
All right. Would you like to say more than that?
Nope.
Suppose you were trying to, you have friends who, God spare them, they're in a terrible situation. And their terrible situation is, sad to say, but it's true, they've never had this class. So they're just pretty much destitute. All they've got is you. What would you say to your friends about this notion of the difference between the divine law and the eternal law? How could you make that make sense to your friends? Good Lord, that sounds like it'd be a great assignment. Yeah?
Divine law is external, eternal law is internal.
Okay, that's that's true, and it's the beginning of something.
Mm-hmm.
But you can imagine that we're talking a long conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yes, if we're explaining this to a novice though, like,
If you're
that's
explaining
at least how we would start it.
That's how we start, but the thing is, if this is gonna make sense to you, and I'm speaking as your teacher now,
Mhm.
if this stuff that we're gonna put on the board is gonna make sense to you, it can't just be that you're using the right vocabulary words and that you know what those vocabulary words mean.
Mhm.
Because that's now that you recognize a Lego block as a Lego block. Your assignment at the end of this unit will be to use Thomas's system the way you're using Ambrose's Tonos system to solve or to address a contemporary issue. So the words aren't going to be helpful. The concepts are going to be helpful. Words are just labels. The concepts, understanding the concept is different from knowing the words. If this were high school, I would just give you a fill-in-the-blank test. You would put the right word in the right slot, and you would get a good grade. Do you really understand at all what's going on? I don't know. That test would not demonstrate anything interesting. All right, can I go on, or do we need to work on this more? Ask yourself the question, if I were talking to a friend of mine who has not had the blessing of taking this extraordinary class, what would I say to them? Yeah?
Could I say that the eternal law is the way you can find that God exists, and divine law is the way we find his nature?
The way what?
We find his nature?
God's nature?
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it that way. Appreciate the start, but I think they are both, the way I phrased it today, and I didn't phrase it on Monday, is divine law and eternal law are both a communication from God to us about God. Is it the same message? Yes and no. If we just had nature and not revelation, there would be a piece missing. If we just had revelation and nature was missing, there would be a piece missing. They don't contradict each other, but they also do not completely overlap each other. There is something uniquely stated in the one and in the other.
They almost kind of like work in tandem.
They work in tandem. This is why, I don't know if you understand this, but this school is the tip of a tradition that goes back at least to the Middle Ages with Thomas Aquinas. The argument, it goes back to Ambrose. In fact, Ambrose is one of the first person who said, I was raised as a pagan, I was raised with philosophy, I was raised to use my brain well, and then I came to a relationship with God, and I wanted to explore that relationship with God, which is revealed to me in my scriptures, and I find that my mind gives me tools to help me understand this thing that is in the Bible better than I would have without it, which is why you can't just cherry pick verses from the Bible and tell me that you're using the Bible. It has to make rational sense in the course of the conversation. Yes?
So could you say that divine law is taught through the Bible to help us through life, and eternal law is how we use what we have learned in life situations?
I guess I would say more than, I would say more in that latter category. Remember that in assignment 1 we talked about the limits of experiential learning? We can't experience everything. Rationality is the ability, in part, is the ability to learn from things that are not personally experienced. What's your topic for your paper?
I was gonna do one and then I changed it because I didn't want to be like too political. So now I just don't.
Why don't you want to be too political?
I just didn't know.
Okay, no one, it's not my job to push that. Bishop Dingman, he'd be a saint if he hadn't made a mistake of ordaining me a priest. I'm pretty sure he'd be a saint right now. But Bishop Dingman always used to say, if you're going to preach the gospel, it has to do with the Bible in one hand and the newspaper in the other. The Bible is already political. Religion is political. It has to be political in the sense that it has to address concerns of people on the ground. For us to talk about marginalized communities, people are marginalized in ways that everybody else would immediately identify as political. And in fact, I got yelled at by a woman, not yelled at, but strongly talked to by a parishioner of mine, when she said my homilies are becoming increasingly political. My response was, I'm preaching the gospel. I can't preach the gospel that says love your neighbor and not mention that people are being held up at the borders and put in cages. That's contrary to the Bible. Don't yell at me, talk to my boss about that. We can't help but be political, nor should we be afraid to be. But you don't have to be. If it makes you uncomfortable or exhausted or you just ain't tired of it, I get it. But it has to, rationality is more than just our experiences. It's the way we process information, not just from experience, but also from data, also from literature, the arts, the sciences, our general education. Where was it? There were two other people with hands up. Yes or no?
So, if divine law and eternal law work in tandem, then could we kind of justify saying that divine law is like the physical support to external law, and external law is like the internal support to divine law. Because if we think about external law, right, we have this logical idea, but we have no, I'm gonna use the word proof, that our logical idea is real, right? And then that's where divine law comes in through readings in the Bible and tradition, right? But if we have divine law, we have these physical materials, right? But without reasoning and logic, how do we interpret those physical materials to come to the conclusion that there is a God?
I couldn't have said it better myself. I have not said it better myself. Yeah.
So I was just gonna say that divine law is what you're presented, and then eternal law is how you interpret it and think of it yourself.
It can be that, and there is a dialogue that's going on between the two, as Bill had just pointed out. But there also, what nature teaches us about God is different than what the Bible teaches us about God, to a certain extent. Let's get there, shall we?
So,
Sure.
does internal law use natural law to?
Not internal,
or-
eternal.
That's what I meant, sorry. So eternal law is the combination of divine law and natural law?
No. There are two related but separate categories of communication. One speaks to us from the outside to us. One speaks from inside of us and out. This starts in your brain. This starts in an experience of God. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I gotta leave it at there for the moment. Can I go on or not? Once again, you're demonstrating why you're my favorite class, because we are never getting anywhere. What is natural law? Yes, please.
What we know is right and what we know is wrong without being told.
That is beautiful because it's your own interpretation. Let's start with what I said, and then we'll come back to see how what you said, it builds on that, okay? So what was said in class about natural law, yeah?
Goodness is to be done and is to be pursued and evil is to be avoided.
Okay, back up from there first. What's the relationship between natural law and eternal law? That's what I should have asked. Do we not have that?
Well,
Yeah?
Are there not different words for the same thing?
No, not exactly. Yeah.
So, the definition that we just used here, right, our inner ability to know good from bad, and our obligation to do good and avoid evil. External law comes to us from within ourselves, so is that kind of a connection there?
Not
Like-
external, eternal law.
Or eternal law, yeah.
Is inside of ourselves. I thought we did this, but maybe, that do we have this circle?
Yeah.
Yeah, circle.
Okay, come on, Mayor, what is it? Yeah, what is it? What is it?
It's knowable.
The knowable, and then what is the known?
What is natural?
Natural law is
What's
Knowledge.
of what? Of the knowable. I know this is really hard, but then the light goes on and then it's like, oh God, that was easy. Natural law is a subset of the eternal law, in the sense that the eternal law is everything that can be known, and the natural law is the piece of that is already known. Like gravity was not known. I mean, we knew that if we tripped, we fell. If I dropped a chalk, it's going to fall, but we didn't know the principle for it until Newton came along. Newton didn't invent gravity, he just explained it. Got it? It was knowable, and now it's known. Get it? That is the beginning of the understanding of natural law. And I'm going to put what you said on hold because we're going to have to split it into categories here. Is this as far as we got?
Yep.
It is?
We've gotten farther.
Huh?
After that, we went into civil law.
This was from August.
On August 27th, we did this.
Did you have the Latin?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Don't close up on me, we got 2 minutes and I need an hour. That Latin phrase, bonum est facienum et prosequendum in malum mutatem, do you have that? And do you have the English of that? All right, label this. Label that as the primary principle of natural law. I put it in code that way. But you're gonna write the primary principle of natural law. Now, the problem is, we don't know what this word means, except we're going to learn what this word means, and we're gonna learn that it has 3 meanings. Did you have that? Bonum naturalis, bonum,
I don't know how to say the last word, start with the S.
that's the supernaturalis. There are 3. The bonum naturalis, by the way, in your notebook, it should go down here. Bonum connaturalis goes here, and bonum supernaturalis goes there. This map requires that you put them in that order. Is this new? Yes. All right, don't write BN, BCN, BSN. You can from now on, but the first time you write it, write the whole thing. Bonum, B-O-N-U-M, naturalis, N-A-T-U-R-A-L-I-S. Naturalis. Bonum naturalis. N-A-T-U-R-A-L-I-S. Bonum co-naturalis. And bonum super naturalis. All right. Lovely class. Really enjoyed it. We are now officially an hour behind. No, the farther behind, the more proof of your genius.
See you next.